Party's Liberals are now allowing organised prayer services in Ontario's public schools during class. Tim Hudak's Progressive Conservatives say they'll do nothing to stop it. That's because PC leader Tim Hudak is now quietly committed to faith-based public schools.
Choice, but within our public school system.
A Freedom government will say no to faith-based public schools. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Freedom Party.
Last week, when I was lamenting the state of progressive conservative parties at the provincial level across the country, I said, there's not really a conservative alternative out there. Of course, in Alberta, they've got Wild Rose Alliance, and I think that party just got a shot in the arm with what looks like a surefire win by Gary Marr, a Liberal, inside the Tory tent in Alberta. But many of you in Ontario wrote to me and said, you're wrong, Brian, you're wrong, you're completely wrong. There's the Freedom Party. Paul McKeever was one of those that wrote to me. He is the leader of the Freedom Party, joins us now from Toronto. Mr. McKeever, thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
The ad that we just played, and we've got a couple others ready for you, that ad was about faith-based schools. What specifically is the issue that you're going for there? Is this just about what's become known as the Mosqueteria, or is this about all religion in schools? You want it all out?
Well, we're talking specifically about the public school system, not the separate school system. It's been a secular system until just in 2010, when Dalton McGuinty's ministry introduced a religious accommodation policy, which is actually province-wide. The rest of the province isn't as keenly aware of what's going on yet. They will be soon. But what's happening is that under this, or under the guise of religious accommodation, we're actually introducing basically taxpayer funding for organized religious practice, whether that means in the cafeterias, as you were mentioning, having halal menus, whether that means organized prayer during class, but in the cafeteria with 400 students leaving class to pray in accordance with an imam's leadership of that prayer. In Windsor, Ontario, we have schools that are teaching, at least one school, under the guise of a pilot project, saying that children will be taught in their first 3 years of elementary school in Arabic 50% of the time. All of this is just a creeping way of getting religion into the public schools, and we're concerned that Tim Hudak's been absolutely silent about this. He's leader of the official opposition. He should have been saying something, but it looks as though he's on the record as actually wanting this, because he is in his leadership bid, you saw that in the commercial, promising essentially to his members that, don't worry, we'll use the public school system as the base, and we'll bring religious education in there.
And he talks about school choice, but within the public system. And given your name, Freedom Party, I would have expected that you might have been promoting a school choice or voucher system or charter school system sort of thing. But I have to say, reading it, Freedom Party will prohibit public schools from providing or designating prayer rooms, etc. It's all about one size fits all. It actually sounds more statist than freedom. Does the Freedom Party back the idea of school choice, where parents get a say in where their kids go to school and what kind of school it is?
Oh, absolutely. We have consistently campaigned, 2003's election, 2007 election. In fact, we were campaigning in 2007 that we would stop imposing an education tax altogether, but that, and have people choose which schools they wanted to send their children to, whether it be public or private. But that, for Ontarians, has been proven to be too large a step. So what we're concerned with in this particular plank in this election is a separate issue, actually, and that is the bringing of religion into what is an existing secular system. That, too, is a threat to freedom as we see it.
All right, I want to bring up another issue, one that has to do with the pocketbook and the stomach. Right. I think we've got another ad ready. This one on beer and wine in corner stores. Here it is.
You're at the 24-hour grocery store. Your friends are coming over for dinner in a few minutes, but you have no wine or beer to offer them. You check your watch. The liquor store and the beer store are both closed. With a Freedom government, this will never happen again. If you are an adult, you'll be able to buy wine and beer in the grocery store or in a convenience store 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Convenience from Freedom Party.
Mr. McKeever, I can tell you why that idea of not being able to get beer and wine in the corner store doesn't bother Dalton McGuinty, because, like me, he lives in Ottawa. You can always make a run to Hull.
That's
you just get across the bridge, you get some quick, cheap booze in Quebec and come back to good old Ontario.
Right.
In other parts of the country, this is a no-brainer. In Alberta, in Quebec, I'm not sure about BC. I think they have a mixed system there as well. Why are we stuck with what we've got in Ontario?
Well, I think primarily because of the unions and the LCBO wanting to maintain a monopoly. That's
and
about
so
it.
You're proposing scrap that?
Well, the LCBO can compete with everybody else, and so can the beer store. That's what we're proposing. We're not proposing privatizing anything. We're simply saying when you're going out and getting your potatoes and your steak at the grocery store, or when you're picking up a bottle of milk at the convenience store, you should be able to also buy your beer or your wine at the same time. Why?
Now, would you be able to buy hard liquor under your policy at the grocery store?
That would be under, I mean, obviously you want to make sure you have whether you're talking wine, beer, or hard liquor, that there's proper ID mechanisms in place. But yes, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to open the Lilley liquor store, for example.
All right. And by the way, that they don't allow hard liquor sales in corner stores, grocery stores in Quebec, but they do allow beer and wine, corner stores, grocery stores, and they still have a provincial liquor store that does compete, and it's still successful, so it can work. We've got one more ad, and this is about gas taxes, another pocketbook issue, and what your proposal is there. Let's see that one.
Ontario's gasoline tax was introduced by the Conservatives in 1925. Last year, Dalton McGuinty started charging HST on gasoline. He even taxed the tax. 2 taxes is too much. A Freedom government will eliminate the old gasoline tax. That will reduce the price of gasoline by 16.6 cents per litre. Fill her up with Freedom Party.
Okay, so you're going to get me almost $6 off a 2 for a beer and cheaper gas. Those are pretty good pocketbook issues to get people excited.
And the best part is they're relatively small impact on the budget. I mean, the beer tax, we didn't get into that, but you're right. It's about $5.76. It's a new tax that was imposed with the HST. Nobody knows about it because it's buried in the price of the beer. We say get rid of that, and that'll save $5.76 off a case of 2-4. And with respect to the gasoline tax, you're right, 16.8 cents. But the interesting thing is, and I'm out there campaigning in my own riding, Elgin, Middlesex, London, and all of the candidates are saying, no, we're against beer and wine in corner stores. And when it comes to gasoline, what do they say? Well, maybe we'll tweak the HST a bit. This is ridiculous. We're in an age of overtaxation. There are no voices out there that are offering, real substantive changes to whether we're talking, the alcohol laws or even the speed limits on our highways right now, set at 100 kilometers an hour when the going rate is 120. Freedom Party says those speed limits are going up to 120, so that people aren't going to be paying tickets for doing the same speed as everybody else.
Okay, Paul McKeever, leader of the Freedom Party. We got less than 30 seconds left.
Right.
I got to ask you quickly. There's another alternative conservative party out there, Family Coalition. They're definitely social conservative. Looking at your platform, you seem more libertarian. Are you socially conservative at all, or is it purely a fiscal and libertarian type conservatism that you're advocating? I
think your audience would see it as a fiscal conservative party. Generally, what we're looking for is a more rational governance. We're not an anti-government party like the Libertarians, and we're not what some people would call social conservatives. We basically like to focus on those pocketbook issues and get rid of the ridiculous things that are going on in our school system, even in our legislature. Let's just get things back to the way they were when we lived in a saner and less expensive Ontario.
All right, Paul, thanks for coming in. freedomparty.on.ca. If you can't remember that, it will be at the blog, lillyspad.ca. Don't go away. We're not done yet.